I went to Stanford. I did both undergrad and master's here. Let's see. I've previously worked at both Palantir and Google, and I'm now here at Coursera. And I couldn't be happier. And I guess I want to tell you guys a little bit about why I love being at Coursera. So I don't want to repeat things that Andrew already said, but there are a few things that absolutely stand out that I want to highlight. One is the culture at Coursera that we do what's best for the students, and this actually permeates all the way from the top down to every single person at Coursera. We all are there because we care about the students. I worked at Google, and I really enjoyed how much that we at Google talked about, well, let's do what's best for the user, and if there's a bug on live serving traffic, we fix that first. Here, that is almost to the nth degree. It's just really fantastic how much we, I mean, the tough decisions, do we do X or do we do Y? Where do we allocate our engineering priorities? It really is driven top down, but throughout the entire company, by what's best for the students. Let's see. So one thing I want to tell you guys a little bit about is what is it like to work there? What is the culture like? How do you interact with other engineers? So we do sort of very funny things. So for example, whenever you break the build, you get an email in your inbox, or you cause a test not to pass. You get an email in the inbox with why make tests pass. We do sort of funny things like that. And when you get the build to pass, you get the nyan cat that's going chugging along. So it's very fun. We have the standard sort of Nerf gun wars, and that's sort of typical everywhere. We have formal Fridays, we had formal Fridays well before the New York Times published an article about formal Fridays. Anyway, the other thing we have is we have show and tell, and this actually brings me to sort of the next point in culture, and that is we have a lot of responsibility and speed of innovation. So show and tell is every Monday at lunch. We sit together and we show off things that we have done. And it's quite often that someone over the weekend built something fairly substantial, and we get to show it off. One example is one of the other engineers, Pamela. She built you can design your study list, because we have a lot of courses, and so you can easily quickly filter down to see which courses you're interested in, and then drag and drop them, and you can see the dates in which they started. And she built that all in one weekend, and so she showed it off on the next Monday. That's just an example of the speed of innovation. One other story I'd like to tell about this is, this is back in, I think, August. Leif, the front-end engineer, and myself, we both were sad at how slow some of our JavaScript loads. So for example, we have a very JavaScript-heavy single-page app for www.coursera.org, and we thought we could do better. We thought we could make it load faster. So over the course of 2 days, we first took all our JavaScript and put it into one file per page, so that you don't have 50 requests per page, just one request. We minified it, we compressed it, and we served it on a content distribution network. So we took our serving times for just the JavaScript from 2 or so seconds down to about 50 milliseconds worldwide. That's an example of a project that happened over 2 days. And each of those 2 days, those weren't long days, we spent half days on each of those days doing all the work to make this go while we're working on a whole bunch of other projects simultaneously. So the speed of innovation is very important at Coursera. We work very, very quickly. The other is the responsibility. No one told us, hey, our site is slow, you need to fix the JavaScript loading times. We both were annoyed by it, so we wanted to fix it, and so therefore we did. So you have a lot of freedom and responsibility. Similar to how, for example, Netflix, they talk about this sort of stuff. You really have this ability to make significant changes worldwide to students in a matter of days, which is really cool. Another similar thing is sort of other fun things we do. So we push new code every single day. There's been many days we actually push new code multiple times per day, and that's just because we have so many new things being built and launched in that time frame. Everything from the usual bug fixes to new features, which is really cool. And the last thing about responsibility, so even though we move very, very quickly, you have to be very responsible in what you do. I guess one example of this is, let's see, I'll pick on Facebook. Submitting your quiz before the midnight deadline is way more important to you than posting your Facebook status update. And so our students, whenever we have anything, have a problem, our students know and we know, and our students are not very happy, and the professor knows about it. So you really have to be very, very good at what you do. But that said, we still are pushing new code every single day. And that just speaks to the caliber of people that you'll be working with. The next thing I'd like to talk about is, so we're small, but we're not actually very small. So we're small in the sense that we have a small company. So I can touch anything from the JavaScript front end to the back-end infrastructure. I've recently been doing a lot of security work, and I'm actually moving into both some performance stuff as well as some internal tooling. And I'm able to do this because the company is so small. I worked at Google and I had a fantastic time. It was a great company. Some others may disagree, but I think it's a fantastic company and a great place to work. But I can do so much more and make so much bigger changes at Coursera because it's that small. That said, the changes that I'm making are seriously affecting people. The changes that I made at Google really did not have anywhere near as big of an effect on people's lives. It wasn't really making as big of a difference as the changes I make here at Coursera. To give you some example of some of the things that we do. So the continuous build system, this is the thing that sends out the fun cat emails. This gives you an example of our traffic. And so you can see that it's clearly going up, and it varies quite widely. Here's, I guess it gets very poorly displayed. You can see all the sorts of activity that's going on, and you can see that they're all going up and to the right on a very... This is over the past, I think, month or so. And you can see that it's going up on a daily basis, pretty much. You can see the Mondays are usually our biggest days, so you have to see the peaks on Mondays. To give you an example for the sort of scale and the number of classes that we're running, so this is a tool that was built by one engineer. He wanted to have an easier way to see what classes were running when internally. It has a bunch of other sort of fun things, and so he built this. No one told him to, he just did it. To give you an example, so we currently are running about 30 courses, and that number is radically increasing. So now is right here at the edge of the color. And you can just see the number of courses that are going to be starting over the next few days. So we're going to actually have over 60 courses running actually starting next Monday. And it's just phenomenal that that's the kind of growth that we're seeing. We celebrated our 1-year birthday as a company less than 2 weeks ago, I think. The last thing you can actually see, so here's some more of our tooling, you can see on a daily basis the amount of traffic that is going on. These are the number of events we track, and these are page views actually on a daily basis. And it's really fun, you get to see all this sort of stuff. You can see how many servers we have here, but it auto-refreshes, and therefore we lost out on seeing that. So what do I want to convey by this part? So you're in a small company, but you really have big impact. There's a lot of people who are seriously writing on it, and that number is only increasing quite radically. And then the last thing, so let's see. The other thing is, because we are such a small company, you really get to go and see cool new technology. So we are at the forefront and edge of and pioneering new techniques within Amazon Web Services. So we run on Amazon Web Services, and we're using all the latest technology, including auto-scaling and rapid deployment and all that sort of stuff. So it's a really fun, cool place to work. Yeah. The last thing I want to talk about is you really can change the world. So Andrew actually already talked about some of the advances in education that we're able to achieve. Anything from increasing student enrollment by just sending emails to looking at the picture-in-picture. But I want to talk about other areas in which you really know that you're changing the lives of so many students around the world. One example actually that I really like is, we blogged about this, you can find out more about the story on our blog at Coursera.org. We found actually that autistic students have a phenomenal time on Coursera. And one student actually wrote up his experiences, and he's a 17-year-old kid, Daniel. He was taking the modern poetry course on Coursera. And this was the first course that he was able to take, and it was a normal course that he was able to keep up with. He had a whole bunch of nice things, anywhere from saying this is the best experience in his entire life, to saying that he actually was feeling as if the course was helping him cope with autism much better. He has a fairly severe case of autism such that he actually doesn't speak with people. He only communicates with people by typing on an iPad. And here he is able to take a full, I believe it was a Princeton course, with tens of thousands of other students around the world and enjoy it. It was one of the best experiences of his life. And he wrote it up, and it was just a fantastic story, and I encourage you all to read it. That's just one example. That's just one student out of the millions of students that we're able to affect and help. The last thing is we really are advancing education. So education before Coursera was, I guess what Andrew likes to call the afterthought model. So you put up on the MIT OpenCourseWare some assignment materials, and you hope that students are able to take advantage of it. But really, we haven't solved the world's education problems with libraries, and just making it go online isn't much. It's a little bit easier, but it's not that much better. But really, we were able to, with peer grading technology specifically, we're able to have synchronous communication happen and a real full classroom experience happen online in ways that have never been possible before, and really no one else is able to replicate that. We're able to do that at scale, and we're able to do that very cost effectively. So it's really advancing the frontiers of what's possible with education, and that's really cool to see. And the last thing that I'd like to talk about is we know we're changing the world because actually a couple weeks ago Tom Friedman stopped by, a columnist from the New York Times, and we had a great lunch chat. We actually talked with him for almost 2 hours, and it was really funny. He would tell us stories and how he thinks Coursera is going to be great. And then we'd tell him stories about Coursera students, and he would say, stop, wait, and then he writes down the stories. And so it was really cool to be able to have someone like Tom Friedman sitting just across the table from me, talking about Coursera and the world for 2 hours. So those are sort of what it's like to work at Coursera and some of the things that you experience on a daily basis.